I'm the Commissar. We're watching Forged Alliance Forever. And you might think, who needs Navy anyway? I can get straight to the enemy base by land. Well, what if your entire base is surrounded by water? Will naval control play a big part then? Let's find out. 1v1 ladder and on a 20k map. So this is going to tax our players a little bit. In the red corner, this is Morax. He is 1756 rated and Seraphim. In the blue corner, and asking us to be gentle because he says he's drunken, this is Keli, 1580 rated. And they're both opening first land by the looks of things. Keli only just starting an engineer there. He was claiming he was drunken. Let's see if that is reflected in his play. But meanwhile, let's talk about the map. The map is called the Crucible, and it's got all these fetching little skulls dotted all over it. Quite a lot of large skulls there, quite big as skulls go, given that this ACU is supposed to be gigantic and have like a human-sized being in there. I say human-sized because they're both Seraphim today. Anyway, the map has big heaps of reclaim on this central plateau and around these two skulls down here. It's got these back little land masses here where there's a decent amount of eco. In fact, these are starting positions in the 3v3, as are these. And these are the starting positions. They're going to be the players' natural expansions. Now, Navy is, of course, going to be crucial on this map because not only is there an whole lake running all around this central island, but so many of these mexes are right next to the water, like mexes and hydros. Even frigates can range them. And both our factions today have access to missile cruisers. So there is basically nothing that you can't hit with naval stuff if you get naval dominance. And so I'm expecting that to be super important today. Obviously a hydro rush is going to be the expected start for both players, followed by an air factory. Morax is doing exactly that. Keli hasn't sent his comm down to build the hydro and instead has left his comm building P-gens in his base. I don't really like that. How's it? I mean, he's much higher rated than me and he's got an eco balance, so it can't be that bad. But only now is he getting his hydro up. Two engineers from Keli going for his expansion up here, where he's got a lot of factories queued, a lot of land factories. Planning to send spam through here and around here, I imagine. Morax slightly more restrained in the number of factories he's putting up, and he's only sending one NG in this direction. There's another one coming, but is that actually going to build? Okay, this is the one that's going to do the building here. This one's going to do what? Do some reclaiming, maybe? I don't know. Now, Keli is the first, by some way, to consider this back expansion. He's got an NG halfway there, because he has also queued up some naval yards there. Morax, though, has no NGs in the water, and no naval yards queued up, so he's being a lot slower to dip his toes into the lake. Or sea, or whatever sort of waterway this happens to be. Now, Keli's built an early bomber, but he's only now had it take off, and it is seen by the scout from Morax, so he'll know it's coming, and he's got an inti here. He might just be able to straight up lock it. He hasn't yet, but he knows it's there. So I don't get the feeling that this is going to pay off for Keli. He tries to dodge the bomber, but the inti's turning it, seen it. And down goes the bomber before it's able to get any work done at all. So Keli's starting the naval yard here, and he's already got his NG building mexes on this landmass at the back. Morax still has done no such thing. However, Morax getting his comm out a bit more aggressive. He's going to put up these mixes and then come around the side here, which is definitely one of the main alleys in. He's already sent this raiding party around. Over here, two raiding parties have run into each other. But it's definitely Morax who comes out on top. He might be able to get some damage done here against things like this NG, if he gets there quickly. Keli taking his comm into the middle, where you can see he's got quite a lot of factories queued up, ready to go. And getting control of the middle, thanks to all that reclaim we saw earlier, is going to be quite important. Morax is now dropping out to the back, and I like that play. He, as you can see, he's got engineers going down into the reclaim at the back here, into the mexes here, all that sort of thing. Keli's got another bomber out. Picking up an NG there, that's a nice touch. Morax has a raiding party trying to grab the hydro and mexes on the coastline here in the expansion for Keli, but Keli hasn't tried to expand there yet. He's probably busy focusing on this bomber, which I think is going to get another NG kill. Yes, it does. That's now 2 NG kills it's picked up. But Morax is hitting it with his Inti if he's got the APM to micro it at the moment. He's also worrying about this to a raiding party, which is now going in and trying to pick up stuff in here. Meanwhile, the bomber drops a bomb on a Mex. If he can take out that Mex, there aren't any engineers super nearby to pick it up again. And he is going to get that Mex. Nice. Although, I'm pretty sure that that bomber is about to die. Is it? Yes, it is. So, back over to the raid here. 2 NGs being picked up. And that's very nice for Morax, because it's going to slow down the production of units here. Though there are units being produced here, and all Keli has to do is divert a couple of tanks this way from these factories, or indeed drop this whole lot of tanks onto them. And he'll be able to stop it, but he's already lost a Mex, he's had a factory denied, and there may be more work to be done by these 2 units. As Arty is though coming out here, but the Arty does manage to land a hit on the tank, and that will put paid to this raid. Now, Keli is slightly ahead in eco at the moment, we can see that up here. And his comm is setting up camp in mid with a lot of factories queued up. Is the comm building all of those? Yes, he is. Whereas Morax is definitely going to be applying more pressure with his comm. He's advancing around the side. And while we do have a couple of tanks here from both sides, the comm is going to make all the difference. Because the comm is worth like 20 T1 tanks. Keli's got a frigate out. And Morax is still not in the water, and this could be huge for Keli, because all of this eco from Morax can be ranged by that frigate. Morax's drop, however, to the back has paid off, and as you can see, he's expanding well. In fact, he's now caught up and just about overtaken Keli on the eco. He's also tried to raid this expansion here, but he's found Keli's comm there, and Keli is also sending a lot of units in, so I don't think these units are going to get much done. But it does mean that the path is more open for Morax to send units around the back. Keli does have this production here, and that's still got 2 factories, even though one was denied. And I don't think Morax is actually sending much this way, though he has now put up a factory here. And Keli is sending a small number of units around this side, whereas Morax, who's got his factories in his expansion, is sending a lot more. But Keli doesn't have his comm to defend here like Morax does on the other side, so he might be pushed back a bit. The frigate is coming into range of these mexes. It's not positioned itself very well for this one, just a tiny bit further back, like here, and it'll be able to shoot that mex. But it's too close to the cliff face and can't shoot the mex. The frigate moves on, and you can see here it can actually just hit the hydro when it's just a little bit further away, but it doesn't look like Keli's choosing to stop. It looks like he is just choosing to move straight on. Meanwhile, Morax spreading his units out across the middle, putting up point defences, putting up factories. He wants to get as much of this reclaim in the middle as he can. and he's now ahead in eco. Keli hasn't finished even colonizing all the mexes on his back landmass. And in terms of reclaim, we're about evens. Keli the tiniest bit ahead, but nothing that would make a huge difference at this stage. Now, we've got some bomber raids picking up mexes here from Keli, that's nice. We've also got these T1 tanks, which have managed to slip past Morax's comm. And there's a couple of mexes here they can take out pretty much for free. One goes down, and I'm sure this one here is soon to follow. But what is this I see? Is this a tank drop? And I'm sure it must be going for this back island here. We'll check back on it in a moment. Morax has also been able to drop up here. And if Keli went for it, I didn't see if he did, but... Oh, yes he did. Look, there's a transport there. So he tried to send a transport out for these islands, and he got shot down. However, Morax's navy has been denied by Keli, so he's gone and sent an engineer to the back to set up some more, and he's also dropping engineers into the corner, presumably to contest the navy a bit harder. Meanwhile, though, Keli has started T2 Navy, and T2 Navy on this map, as we said at the beginning, it's going to be huge, because if you win Navy, then Sarah cruisers could just range everything here. Meanwhile, though, in comes Morax's drop. The transport has taken a few hits of damage, but it gets off its 2 tanks, 2 Zoes, and I don't think Keli's even got any... this is just producing NGs here, so these tanks will have a free run for a little while, smashing through the eco that Keli has on this southern landmass. Meanwhile, we have Yenzyne hover tanks from Morax coming in here. T2 units on the field, and Keli's already got T1 production here, so these Yenzynes will be able to get a lot of work done. However, Keli's managed to bring his troops around, through, up and onto the middle, and they're getting in behind Morax's comm into the eco. These mexes are dead. There's a point defense guarding these mexes, and I'm not... There's one piece of... Oh, there's 2 pieces of artillery in here. So we will be able to work through it, but perhaps not before Morax is able to stop this attack. And Morax is bringing his comm back. These Yenzynes, though, they haven't really got anything to stop them, and they've taken out these 2 mexes, and they're just carrying on. These engineers are just fresh meat for the picking, and these Yenzynes could just drive straight in here and do quite a lot of damage, I think. And we've also got a couple of Yenzynes coming around the bottom. There's one T2 factory here producing them, and this factory is now T2, though Morax needs to notice that these mexes, and indeed this mex, need rebuilding. We're looking to get quite a scuffle here, but will the small amount of T2 that I saw floating around here... I was going to say the small amount of T2, it's a very small amount, it's none... Oh, there it is. Will this small amount of T2 tip the balance in Morax's favour? Maybe it won't, because these are Ilshis here, T2 bots coming out from Keli, and T2 bots, the Ilshivols, they are among the best T2 land combat units. Look at this, though. Remember we said we checked back on that drop? Well, here we are. Look how much Morax has cleaned up. That's 4, 5, 6, 7 mexes. 8, 9 mexes taken out by Morax's little drop. That's really going to hurt Keli. And he's gone for a cruiser first, and that would be fine if he had naval control, which he thought he did. But he does not know about this, or he would not have gone for a cruiser, I'm sure about it. Let's see. No, he doesn't. If he'd seen any of that, the first thing he would have put out of this factory will be a destroyer. But he doesn't know that Morax is in the water, and in the water in quite quantities. He's building T2 Navy here, and I don't think Keli is going to see that in order to deny it. However, Keli is shooting at these coaster pieces of eco, and that might, you know, slow Morax down a bit, but Morax has a significant eco lead now. 99 to 53, that's like 50 or 60%. Morax is sending a bit more land through the middle, and oh look, these Yenzynes have come up around the back. However, there's Ilshis here to stop them, so they're only going to kill 1 mex. Plus this one. But while these issues are back here, more are coming in the front, and this production is still T1. Oh no, it's not. I'm lying. That's the T2 factory. But this is 5 Yenzines. This is a significant amount of force to stop, although there is T1 point defense here. It's not ringed, but it will still be able to get some shots off. And as these Ilshis come running back, Morax realizes this is not going to get a great deal done here. He does, however, manage to kill 2 Mexes. Meanwhile, Kelly's pushing up round the side and forcing Morax's tanks back. This is a decent sized force with 2 Ilshis in it. And I think it's going to kill some of Morax's Mexes here. There's T2 Mexes it could pick up there. And Kelly's cruiser is making its way around. We have 2 more drops. Though we have to look at these 2 more drops, one here and one here, coming in from Morax to try and strike the back landmass. That one's trying to land in here, and that one's coming in here. However, there is a cruiser, another cruiser. He still hasn't killed up any destroyers, but you know what cruisers have that's pretty good? They have anti-air, and that transport is going down. Pop. And this one is going to fly over this has only got 46 hit points and it flies over an Inti, and it's down. The double drop denied by 1 Inti and 1 cruiser. That's got to hurt. But now, Morax has out a destroyer from his T2 naval yard, and that is going to be a very unpleasant surprise for Kelly, who still doesn't know about it. He knows there's a submarine here, but he does not know that there's all this production, including T2 Navy, and that will be able to absolutely smash this cruiser with this 1 frigate. However, the cruiser's missiles are going to do work, and he's taken out that T2 Mex, he's taking out the production here. And 1 tank has somehow managed to land here for Morax, which has taken out the NG, denied 2 Mexes and a Hydro. There is another tank coming out here, which will probably finish it off, and there's point defenses going up here, though he already has one here. But even so, this 1 tank, that's 3 Mexes and an NG and a Hydro is taken out. It's definitely paid for itself. It might take out this tank too and be able to carry on with its dirty business. But another tank is out, and that will be that, as is the point defense. Still, great work. And that cruiser is indeed toast. There it is sinking as the destroyer, backed up by a bunch of frigates, sails past. And unless we see destroyers coming out for Kelly now, which I don't think we're going to, he might just lose his naval production. All he's got in defense is 1 frigate and 1 T2 point defense. The back and forth around the sides is now going Morax's way. He's got 6 Ilshis here, plus a few Yenzines, and that is a lot more than Kelly has. But Kelly's production is here, and he can reinforce, therefore, a lot faster than Morax can. However, Morax has got gun on his comm, Kelly's still naked. As Morax comes around the front, he's also got a bunch of Vurthul gunships, which are the best T2 gunships. They're expensive, but they're basically flying Ilshis, these things. And those gunships will be able to back him up, but this is a lot of Ilshis, even for a gun comm to handle. Does Morax have access to overcharge? He does. But he's going to be under attack, and there are a couple of fracks in here, which will mean he can't just bring the gunships in order to defend himself. I think he's going to take quite a bit of damage here. Meanwhile, this raid is pressing on, and it is going to take out this pair of Mexes, which I think were both T2. Oh, maybe that one wasn't, but this one certainly is. And he's going to lose it, but that's surely less of a concern. He's brought the gunships in anyway, and the flak is going to take them down. But look at this, he's into the red. Morax is into the red. He's very close to a vet, but he's losing hit points fast. 1900, 1000, 500 hit points, and he gets a vet. That was so close. But he's still in the red, and there's still 2 Ilshis here with more following up. And he's taking the damage still. And now he's a long way from a vet because he's only just got one and he's back down below 1,000. 900 hit points, but he has got these point defenses helping him out. The Oshi still opens fire on him though, and it's just got a little bit of damage to do. 700, 600, back down to 500 hit, 400, 300. Is he going to be out here? No, he takes out the Oshi with 312 hit points remaining as he flees for his life, and he's got Oshis now covering himself before these two can catch up with him. That was insanely close. They might still catch up with him. But he's shooting them, and that one's down. He can almost certainly overcharge the other and it falls back. Wow, that was incredibly close. Meanwhile though, this is what the cruiser did before the destroyer took it out. It's taken out the entire expansion belonging to Morax. Morax is still ahead on the eco front, but that might change as this cruiser is hitting mexes and power in his main base. However, the destroyer has taken out this cruiser and has reached the naval HQ of Keli. And it's taken out the torpedo defense. It's going to take out this naval factory, and it's targeting this T-11 first to try and prevent this frigate getting out. Though the frigate does get out, it's quickly shot. And what can Keli do to save his navy? Because if Morax is left with T2 navy and this entire pond to play with, then Keli's apparent dominance on land might mean a lot less. However, he has managed to bring units into the actual front of Morax base. Morax has a T2 point defense here, and he has some T2 production here, which is producing Urshis. He's also got T2 air, of course, but this force is not gathered up. If this force were gathered up, I think it would be able to do a lot more damage. But as it is, the T2 point defense can afford to pick it off one shot at a time. However, Morax does have a lot to concentrate on. He's got this army, which has continued after taking out these mexes, and is getting into Keli's main base. The problem with several destroyers is they have beam weapons, so they cannot fire up this cliff. However, I think he might be about to lose a P-Gen. The Oshis are getting close, the Arty's getting close, and Morax loses a P-Gen. That's not a problem for him though. He has got enough in his overflow to make up for it. But this is looking like a bit of a no man's land here. Look how many of the mexes are claimed. None of them. Keli, sorry, is currently building this one, but Morax's expansion has got one mex in it and one back here. And Keli's only just built this mex, but he's done straight to T2, which is quite risky, especially with these tanks around. However, Morax's army has got right into Keli's main base, and it's taken out though this is big, it's taken out the HQ. Keli is throwing up point defenses, and they are going to work through the Oshis in time, but he's lost his HQ, and that's huge. He's lost 2 T2 mexes. He might be about to lose a third, although this assault bot is on its last legs, and with a bomber hitting it. However, it only needs a couple more hits, and the mex goes down. So he's lost his naval HQ, he's lost his land HQ. Things are looking, and he's lost naval control entirely. Things are looking very problematic for Keli. He's also lost 3 of the mechs in his main base. The only redeeming feature is that down this little ramp here that leads into Morax's base, he's got quite a decent amount of Urshis coming in. And he's going to try and use them to stop Morax retaking this expansion right here. Keli still naked and still a reason to be on the front line. He's still sending units through here. Keli's putting up point defense. He's not surrounding it with war sections though, which I would like to see happen. And there isn't really much here to defend at the moment. This one might get some more work done. And Morax is making sure that his naval units are staying in this area and they are not letting Keli get back in the water. This army now is going to push on the front of Morax's main base. He's getting T2 point defenses up, reasonably well scattered so they can't all be hit at once, and his comm does have 3 vets as well as the gun. But this is a decent force coming in. However, I think he's got enough to stop it before it does too much damage. Meanwhile, I was throwing shade at Keli for building a cruiser when he didn't have naval control. Now Morax has built a cruiser. But that's perfectly fine, because he absolutely has naval control. Look, Keli doesn't have a single unit in the water, whereas Morax has destros positioned all around the coast, so these two cruisers will be able to get a lot of work done, and they are absolutely going to hinder Kelly's re-expansion. This P-Gen is going to be a good pickup. He can afford to lose it for the moment, but he can't afford to spend the mass he's got unless he builds more power. Meanwhile, Morax has lost 2 of his actual base mexes and may lose more here as the army comes around the top. And Kelly's actually building this eco here. Keli has a huge eco lead right now. I was not expecting that. And he's left Urshis here in order to make sure that Morax can't re-expand. However, Morax's Urshis are coming in for the snipe on Keli. Keli's snipe on Morax nearly worked. Will Morax have any more luck over here? Well, they're not really going for the snipe yet, I don't think. But now they are. Keli is under multiple Urshi fire. However, he's got a bank of point defenses up here, and those may be able to work through the Urshis in time to save him. Keli has recently got a rank of vet, though, and he's going to be able to back up there without much trouble. But this could change matters. We have an air snipe coming in. The Vuthu gunships are raining down fire from above. There is a flak turret here, and that will do damage to the gunships. But Keli is taking hits. He's down into the red. Down below 2,000 hit points. And the gunships keep firing on him. However, more flak is going up, and I think the air attack has been repelled. Keli survives. Meanwhile, back to Morax's base, where there are Urshis on both sides. This point defense... Morax has actually lost a lot of his power, and he's only just surviving with 200 to spare, despite a mass store. However, this is a lot of reclaim that's been dumped on his base. That is... what's that? That's like 15,000 there for him to eat through. And the cruisers are trying to deal with the Urshis that are stopping him re-expanding. Meanwhile, we mentioned that these mexes were rangeable from the sea. Well, we can see just that happening here, as all of these 3 mexes have been taken out by Morax's navy. He's also working on these mexes with cruisers that he's got stationed all around the coast. That's going to make it difficult for Keli to get into the air. And rather than worry about these Urshis, he's sending out Urshis of his own to counter them, and he's sending a drop to rebuild his expansion here. He could just be going for the reclaim, because there is 3,000 or so reclaim around here, but I would imagine he's going to try and rebuild his production. Meanwhile, Keli is still amassing immense amounts of spam here, although he lost his original HQ, which was down here. He's built a new one up here, on the plateau in the middle, on the central hill. And that enables him to use all of... in fact, he's built a new one here as well, and with it, he is now going for T3 land. So that could make a big difference, because the thing is, while Morax's navy can range everything in here, it can't be used defensively, because of the Cerodestral beam weapons not being able to make it over the cliff in the same way that far from, say, a Salem or a Valiant could, the Cybern and the UEF destroyers. And this is actually quite a big army for Keli. Morax has mainly caught up his eco, despite the fact that Keli has map control in the middle done and dusted. And the reason he's been able to catch up with the eco is that so much of Keli's eco is being taken out from the naval control that Morax has. However, these are large numbers of units, and I'm not sure how I feel about Morax's odds against being able to defend against these. He has rebuilt the mexes here, and he is putting up a point defense, properly capped, in order to defend it. But that will not stand against an army this size, or even just like 3 or 4 of these Urshis could go down here and kill this, while the rest continues the pressure against Morax's base. And we can see here we've got an army not wanting to stand too close to the comm there. But with an army on each side, if the comm is on one side, it's not protecting the other side. So Keli definitely has a chance to go in here. And remember this expansion back here, which Keli has now rebuilt twice. He's losing it yet again to Morax's cruiser, and he has no T2 build power out here, and no way to get it, because any transport would be shot down by this cruiser. So everything he just rebuilds is instantly killed by the cruiser's tactical missiles. So Keli has to hope he can make his armies count, and his armies are besieging Morax like nobody's business. And Morax is definitely forced onto the back foot here. A giant gunship site might pay off, but there's enough flak around here near Keli's comm that I'm reasonably sure it's not actually going to it's not actually going to be able to lead to a successful snipe from Morax. And Keli is just posturing at the moment. He doesn't think he's got enough to put the pressure on. In Keli's position, I would probably be waiting for my T3 land, and so I reckon that's what he's doing. Because 3 or 4 Ophiums going in there, they would absolutely be able to wreck the amount of point defense that that Morax has. But every time Keli leaves these units standing still, they're going to get pounded by the cruisers. And look at this! The cruisers from Morax have completely wrecked Keli's expansion too, and so it's now Morax who's back in the eco lead. This is going back and forth like nobody's business. Who's got your money on to win at this stage? We have the... Oh, there's a tactical missile there. We'll look at that in a second. We have the T2 Navy crushing Keli from the outside, but we have the T2 and soon-to-be T3 land crushing Morax from the inside. The tactical missiles are firing, and they take out a power generator. They take out 2 power generators. And has Morax realized the need for tactical missile defense? He would have immense problems with power if he weren't horrifically mass stored. And the shots just keep coming in, and now they're taking out these point defenses, and that could really clear the way for Keli's army to come in. However, Morax has sallied forth with his own ill-sheets to try and kite as much of the T1 as he can before Keli's ill-sheets come in and kill them. And Keli's not able to take advantage of the damage done by his TML because he's busy microing elsewhere. And having lost this expansion, he rebuilt these mexes, but they've just been killed again by the tactical missiles from these cruisers. And now, he does still have a couple of T1 mexes out at his lower landmass, but I suspect the only reason they're alive is that Morax doesn't have intel on them. If a scout went over, they would die very quickly indeed. Now, Keli has reached the T3 land stage, and there's an Ophium rolling out. Is that our first Ophium? No, it's not. He's actually got a couple here already. And those T3 units could be the deciding factor in this fight. Because Morax, he's getting so much pressure applied from the outside. The tactical missile is firing again. We can see it coming in here. But Morax has taken note and has tactical missile defenses up, which will easily stop it, and they do. He's preparing a bunch of drops here for something. But it feels like he has got a problem, and the problem lies in the fact that he doesn't have land control. I reckon that if he could get his comm to one of these side islands, like if he can drop down here and take this island, then the amount of eco that's rangeable from the Navy here for Keli would mean that it could be an outside versus inside situation and fairly evenly matched. But Morax feels that he's got to keep his comm here in defense. And I can understand why he's thinking that, but thanks to these Ophiums, that's now a rather sketchy proposition. Morax wades in. He's got a full vet comm here with a gun upgrade. The full vet gives him 40 hit points a second regen, and that's pretty cool. But at this stage of the game, if I were using my comm on the front line, I would want to see some nano repair at least, maybe a resto field as well, to support these Ilshis and these point defenses. And Keli has reached a stage where he thinks he has enough. He's slightly in the eco lead again. He is, but there are a bunch of point defenses here, banks and banks of point defenses, and the Ophiums are best at short range. So as long as Morax can target the Ophiums before they get to short range, the point defenses might well survive. And there's a couple more coming in, but Morax is going to lose a lot here. He's losing mexes, he's losing power. Has he got power elsewhere? If I were Morax, I'd have put up PJ at the back, but I don't think he has. Keli and Morax are both implying it's over there, as Morax is surrounded, but his comm is still in the yellow, and his comm is still pumping out firepower. Does he have overcharge still? No, he doesn't. He's lost his overcharge, and that could mean the difference between life and death for Morax. But there aren't any more Ophiums on the field here. There may be more coming in, but there aren't any here, and if you could just rebuild an overcharge on the back island, perhaps, on the back landmass, then Morax might be in a position to shoot his way out of this. Look, he's still in the yellow, and most of this is actually dead. Now there are more Ophiums coming in, though. However, if Morax can get to the island at the back, then the fact that he's got naval control with several destroyers, which double as sub-hunters, will mean that it will be very hard for Keli to evict him, as the cruisers make a fantastic air defense. And then it will just be a matter of applying pressure. But can he make it? The Ophiums are there, and he still doesn't have overcharge. And he's still choosing to remain with his comm here. I think he needs to get his comm out of there. And now we have PD creep coming down from Keli towards Morax's base. Oh, but look at that. Is Morax power stored? Commander, absolutely he is, yeah, because he didn't build a factory at the back. He's now not only not able to overcharge, he's fully power stored, and so he has no resources to build anything more. His eco isn't really 38, it's just that that's what we can afford with the lack of P-gens. And has he even got any Tech 2 engineers out there to deal with it? I don't think he has. He's trying desperately to mass up fighter bombers for a snipe, but without power, that's a big ask. And if we just zoom out and take a look at this, this feels like a big omission on Morax's part. He could have landed here and taken it. He's got these islands, though he hasn't had the APM to deal with this one. Overall, I think he would definitely be able to contest Keli in reclaim and map control if it were Keli on the central island and Morax around the outside. But Morax is very stubbornly holding on to try and stick in his base, and that's giving Keli the chance to mass a bunch of Ophiums right here, with which he'll be able to push in. And thanks to the point defense creep, I don't think that Morax can push forward and deal with these. And if Keli swarms in, he might just be able to get the kill at this point. Morax has a dropout. Where's it go? So he is actually going to colonize this island at last. He's got a drop there full of engineers by the looks of things. But will he have the time to use it? His comm is advancing again. Look at that move order. He's advancing to take this fight. But there are 7 Ophiums, and Morax doesn't even have 1 overcharge or even power, let alone the 6 overcharges he would need to take out an Ophium in a single shot. And this might be the end for Morax. Yeah, look at that. The Ophiums are pounding him. He's killed 1, but there's still 6 left. And kaboom! Morax is evicted after nearly 40 minutes of battle. I genuinely thought that with his naval control, he would be able to take it. But he didn't build any eco on the outside, and he tarried too long on the inside, and Keli was able to run him down. What a fight. That was not the outcome I was expecting. With Navy locked down, I was fully expecting Morax to be able to simply bombard the central island with his resources all coming in from the outside, deny Keli any eco that way, and he'd be able to just trap Keli and win. But he stayed on the mainland, and by staying on the mainland, he exposed himself to Othium fire and died. Tell me what you thought in the comments below. While you're down there, don't forget to like, subscribe, and obey. I'm the Commissar. I will see you next time.